Hello. Friends, let's keep following what's going on in Polish society. Today we have a drunk lecturer in a maternity hospital, football fan clashes in Krakow and Lublin, and of course Ukrainians got the worst of it. What's actually happening with the Polish people? We're breaking down a mix of street aggression, football hooliganism, and the procedural absurdity of the police. Nevertheless, even though our news isn't very pleasant, please give a like, subscribe to the channel, like to support aerodynamics, and write "Bald guy, why aren't you at the front?" It helps promote the videos. Huge thanks for your support and subscriptions. Yes, let me remind you that the best money transfer service is TransferGo. The link is in the description. Send money to your family and loved ones. Support them if you can. And by the way, register and you can get 10 euros. Read how to do it at the link. Now, let's get down to business. From the glorious city of Radom, which is in Poland, of course, we get one lovely news story after another. A certain Mr. Pontomasz, 34 years old, a resident of Lublin, came to Radom to have fun at a wedding. Well, of course. Until 5, maybe 6 in the morning, as is customary, he got up from the table and, in a state of deep alcoholic enlightenment, Citizen Tomasz went out to greet the sunrise on Malkewski Street. And what did he find there? Who did he meet there? 3 young Ukrainians? Maybe the guys were on their way to work? I don't know, that's not the point. But what did Tomasz do? That's right, he decided to give them a little history lesson. The topic of the lecture? Nothing more, nothing less. The Volyn tragedy. The Ukrainians, well, as you might expect, decided not to listen to the professor of drunken sciences at 6 in the morning and declined the lecture. And apparently they refused without any respect. And Citizen Tomasz, in fact, was deeply offended. What is this? How dare you? You don't want to talk to me about Volyn at 6 in the morning? And he used a tactical move. He started shouting a magic phrase to the passers-by on the other side. Look, there are Ukrainians here. And then something fantastic happened. Random passers-by, 4 people, upon hearing this, immediately got involved. And then 3 more showed up. So, in total, 8 Polish heroes started beating up the 3 who refused. The ones who refused the history lecture. The decisive assault, well, naturally ended with a banal fistfight and injuries to heads and faces. In the end, the police came for Citizen Tomasz, well, because he got into a taxi and left. And of course, there are a lot of cameras, so finding the taxi driver wasn't a problem either. And now it's all done through an app, so it's dead simple. They came for Tomasz in Lubov. Damn, at the prosecutor's office, he honestly said, yes, he drank, yes, he wanted to give a lecture. Well, I don't remember anything, but I don't deny my role in it. Now, the educator faces 5 years in prison under the article on bias-motivated violence and participation in a fight. The other 7 assistants from the department are now being searched for from surveillance footage. Friends, honestly, the absurdity is just off the charts. The guy got drunk, came to an empty street at 6 a.m. instead of going to sleep. Well, he decided to do it to start lecturing the first people he met about history. But the wildest part of this whole story for me is actually the crowd's reaction. Absolutely random people were going about their business. At the first shout from a drunk stranger, they run to beat up other strangers just because they're Ukrainian. Without even trying to figure out if they did anything or what was going on. Well, in short, it all turned into a criminal case. A collective outburst of drunken aggression became yet another entry in the police records. It's pretty wild, of course. And look, this isn't an isolated incident, not a one-off case. The next case doesn't involve Ukrainians, but still it clearly shows the kind of things happening in Poland. Reporting from Krakow Westi, Nowa Huta. And there, on Thursday night going into Friday, the story is also telling. A group of 5 citizens attacked one person, 5 against 1. Earlier it was 8 against 3, which also isn't exactly fair. In short, a 36-year-old guy was methodically beaten down on the sidewalk. They used their hands, feet, and some sharp objects. Well, it all ended sadly. The man passed away right in the ambulance. The Krakow police acted quickly and detained 9 people. It would seem that the investigation is underway and the guilty will be brought to justice. But they detained everyone, questioned them as witnesses, and then immediately let them all go. The prosecutor's office and the police just shrug. Well, what can we do? There is no direct evidence. No suspects have been identified among them so far. Yeah, well, these guys are connected to football fans, kibice, decent people. Don't get the wrong idea. So we can change the status at any moment. For now, we're looking for a witness, send us footage from cameras, call the police desk, help us out. Basically, here's what actually happened. A man was beaten to death in the middle of the night by a crowd with some kind of weapons in their hands. Law enforcement detains a dozen suspects, then immediately lets them go because supposedly they're witnesses. A crime has been committed, there's a body. 9 participants of this event are still free. The investigation sincerely hopes that some passerby will call the police and do their job for them. Look, It turns out the deceased was connected to the Hatnik fans, and the attackers belonged to the Wisła group. So as I already said, we're talking about fans, or pseudo-fans, whatever you want to call them, some kind of fan groups. But investigators are trying to find out whether these two were the ones swinging fists and sharp objects themselves, or if they just led the attackers to the victim. But against the backdrop of this case, the president of Wisła, Mr. Jarosław Królewski, made a stern statement. From now on, no one will be allowed into the stadium with banners or with any kind of smoke bombs, nor in hooligan t-shirts. And for any similar slogans, people will be kicked out immediately. Well, scared you, huh? A big scare. What else do we have on this topic? News is coming in from Lublin again about the football club Zaglender. The local detectives acted quickly and detained two citizens aged 33 and 34. But these citizens, as you understand, were part of the illustrious group of local football supporters, or pseudo-supporters. Quite a story. Let me tell you what happened. According to all the rules of the genre, they ambushed a citizen near a residential building. They worked him over thoroughly using some dangerous object. Then they shoved the poor guy into a car and took him who knows where. Basically, it was just a kidnapping right in the courtyard. To cover their tracks, they abandoned the cars in one place and hid themselves somewhere else. In short, criminal mastermind slipped up a bit. The police found both the car and the athletes or fans themselves. Here, the victims are in the hospital. And the citizens, the football fans, ended up in the holding cell. The prosecutor didn't appreciate their impulse and charged them with forcible kidnapping using objects dangerous to health. The court ruled, basically, guys, you'll spend 3 months in detention while we figure out what to do next. Well, this is just absurdity in all its glory, because you are adults. Damn it, you're 30 years old. By now, you should have at least some common sense. But no, instead of watching football and enjoying life, being glad there's no war in the country, they're just playing out 90s action movies. They kidnap people, abandon cars in courtyards, and sincerely hope they won't be found in their own hometown. As a result, instead of the fan section, these citizens will end up behind bars. And this whole daring special operation ended up as a banal criminal case. Well, honestly, I don't know what's going on in people's heads, what's happening to Polish society. Write in the comments, do you even feel okay or not? I don't know. This didn't happen under Duda. So, we have one more piece of news, friends, and then we'll move on to the conclusions. The glorious city of Gizycko, I haven't been there yet, and I won't get to visit it anymore. Here, this is the Warmian Masulian Voyoship. The news is also wonderful. A local citizen, 47 years old, just decided to take a walk down the street, but he ran into a bunch from neighboring Wegorzewo. It was a group of 3 people. 2, as I said in some language, 2 men and 1 woman. The out-of-town visitors, among whom was a previously convicted repeat offender, attacked the local resident with their hands and feet, hit him on the head, and broke his arm. Well, for prevention, just for fun, and apparently it was much more fun that way. In addition, 2 people from this group also managed to illegally break into the victim's apartment, but it all ended with moderate injuries and a call to the police. The police processed all 3 of them, detained them, and, well, charged them with group assault and illegal entry into a residence. But interestingly, they weren't detained. They were put under police supervision and strictly forbidden to approach the victim closer than 10 meters, and they're not allowed to message him either. Grown adults. I mean, just think about what happened. Grown adults came from another city, organized the group attack, broke down the doors, and crippled the person, and as a preventive measure, the authorities just forbid them from messaging the poor guy or coming closer than 10 meters. Well, damn. Looks like he'll have to walk around with a tape measure now, I don't know, and hope that these repeat offenders turn out to be disciplined social media users and won't write any nasty comments, and of course that they'll keep their distance. Oh Lord, what's going on? Actually, if you look at the whole picture, you see a paradoxical combination of everyday aggression, fan radicalism, and the strange way the law enforcement system works. Because look, there's rampant street aggression and xenophobia. People only grow up on paper. Whether it's drunken historical arguments at 6 a.m. that turn into a group beating, or a crew from a neighboring city breaking down doors. You see, the level of everyday hot-headedness and readiness to use force is off the charts. And sports fanaticism acts as a kind of criminal sublimation. As you can see, football has long gone beyond the stadiums. The division into us and them among fan groups leads to full-scale gang showdowns, with kidnappings, with sharp objects, and unfortunately, with fatal outcomes. And a few words about law and order. The wildest thing is the contrast between the severity of the acts and the system's response. I'm coming back to the point that letting 9 participants go as witnesses, or just giving repeat offenders an order not to come within 10 meters for break-in and maiming. But honestly, this looks like outright helplessness or, I don't know, just bureaucratic surrealism. So what do we have left in the end, friends? Public irritation is growing. Street crime isn't masquerading as hooligan feuds. And for now, law enforcement is responding to this, as you can see, with paper bans on commenting on social media. It's a little bit worrying. Write in the comments how you're feeling in sunny Poland, if everything is okay with you. I really hope everything is fine. But still, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Big greetings to the working class, truck drivers, machinists, and computer guys. So all for now. So I definitely mentioned TransferGo, right? Right, the city where you watched from, it's important. Dennis watched from Gizycko, Dennis watched from Krakow, maybe someone watched from Rome. See you next time. Take care of yourselves.